coming up, more problems for a troubled
Earthquake.
singer. Yep,
We're having an earthquake.
Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. This is another episode 2 of Through Our Lens. Very excited to be back. Thank you again for everyone who listened to the first one. I know Jessa, I think I could speak for both of us that I think we're both pretty blown away by the response of this new show of ours.
Absolutely. Even more so, I just wanted, we'll get more into it, but thank you to everybody who came up to me this past weekend and gave me feedback or just let me know that you enjoyed the first episode. It meant a whole heck of a lot actually getting that feedback to my face. So that was awesome. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah, and obviously by the title of this episode, we had the LDB Fest predictions on episode 1, and this is going to be LDB Fest recap. More so from Jessa's, lens, because she was down there. Before we get more into the conversation, Jessa, do you want to disclose that you are not kidnapped and you are not stuck in someone's trunk or van or anything like that?
Just anybody that's watching the video version of this, yes, I am in a van right now. I am kind of on the road. I am currently in a small town called Chesterton, Indiana, just outside of Gary in Northwest Indiana. I'm not technically on the road as in on tour right this second, but the friends that I'm staying with have a studio in the building, and my homie is doing his drum lessons right now with a couple of his clients, so had to improvise. So I am in what I believe used to be or is the Purgatory tour van, and I've just set up my station in here so I can get some quiet so we can get this recording done. But not to worry, I haven't been kidnapped, even though it looks like I have right now.
I think when we were setting it up, I was like, wait, so we're doing this all in a way for Colin to plug his drum lessons, but Colin's a sick drummer, and when I posted that drum cam clip, it got a ton of views. So the least that I can do is give him a quick plug to his studio and drum lesson shit. I was just gonna say, is just Indiana, all the small towns are just like first like white dude names like Gary and Chesterton, and like is there
I don't know.
Paul,
I don't know a whole lot.
Indiana?
I don't know a whole lot about small towns in Indiana other than where I've been. That would be a better question for Colin. But while we're on the topic of Colin, I am going to take this opportunity because he has been so gracious of letting me stay at his house. Him and his partner, Alexis, have been the best, and I've been staying with them for the last couple of days post LDB. So I just want to shout out 19 Stars, which is Colin's studio. If you have, I'm sure most of you have heard something that Colin has recorded. As of late, he's just working on the upcoming Dose release. Dose being a band from Iowa who is fucking sick, and I have a feeling that demo is going to be super dope. So if you are anywhere near Northwest Indiana and you need somebody to record your band, hit up Colin. I believe it's 19 Stars NWI on Twitter. So I'm gonna give him that free plug just because he has been so good to me this week. So if you are in the area and you need someone to record your shit, definitely hit Colin up. He's super talented and always working on cool stuff. So
yeah, and we love to support the homies as well as supporting the homies that put up the other homies. So shout out to Colin and all that good shit. So we got a lot of good things to get to on the dock, but first, we have to bev check, and then secondly, we have to vibe check. So, Jessa?
Yeah, absolutely, we do.
You have to go first?
Again, we're MacGyvering this whole episode. This is like true on-the-road shit. Hopefully, it won't happen too much, but with both mine and Spencer's schedules, I'm down in the U.S. for, it'll be 3 weeks by the time I get home to Calgary, so we're making do with what we have. I need water. So I have my big, huge cup of water because I am extremely dehydrated. I've been, ever since I got back from LDB, I've been like, I just need fresh food and I need to rehydrate myself just because I personally, some people might. Good for you if you can. I do not take care of my physical body when I'm at fests, and I will just admit that. It's something I definitely need to get better at. So I've been H2O all day. How about you?
I should be drinking water. Honestly, I think anyone who does any amount of traveling in a COVID or non-COVID world can attest that when you go hard, it's like you come home and you just feel like an absolute piece of dumpster fire garbage. So I think I've just kind of just been like, oh, I need soup. I need like liquids like that. But, you know, I have to take any opportunity I can to drink New Level beer. And, you know, this is the one bev to kind of calm my nerves. I was going to make a joke that like, I don't want Through a Lens to have the reputation of like, I just drink and make poor gambling decisions with my money, because that happened in the first episode and it seemed like people were like, Spencer's crazy.
No, I love it. I love it. we do huge fan of New Level though. So
yes, huge fan for sure. So I'm drinking the blueberry sour. So
I haven't tried that one yet. I'm gonna have to grab a can or a pack when I get home.
I know I saw they were posting about St. Patrick's Day and they had a really small run of the Green Demon. I think I'm like at least 2 months worth of flats behind. So I need to swing down there and just get a bunch of stuff. But granted, I don't have a huge fridge that's dedicated for the bevs. As you can see, we're
going to need to get you one of those soon.
I mean,
we need a stew fridge.
I'm not trying to put you on blast.
No,
but...
I did promise you. I will call myself up first. I did promise you a fridge. That's true. I'll get to it.
Yes. I think once we have a podcast studio and we're doing this shit on the regs, more than regs we already are, we'll have a dedicated fridge. You know, a fridge is in our foreseeable future. That
I hope so.
Is some alliteration mind games right there. Anyways, cheers to you, Jessa.
Cheers to you.
Stoked to be back doing the damn thing.
Yeah.
Thanks for dealing with me on this to catch a podcast host episode.
We had almost a crisis. The power went out. Indiana, I tell you, I don't know what to tell you. Indiana. Power went out. It was out for a couple hours this afternoon. I was like stressing. Are we gonna have to reschedule? Glad we didn't.
Yeah, glad we didn't.
I washed my hair for this.
Yes, it's like you're looking like in the most ridiculous scenarios, but like as nice as that.
At least my hair is clean. As men, you'll never understand. You and Jordan, you won't get it. But to all our female listeners, someone gets it. Someone gets the ailments of washing your hair for something and then those plans being canceled. Am I right, ladies?
Am I right, ladies? So yeah, let's tell me
what's up.
What
I want to hear about you. I'm going to be talking a lot this episode. I want to hear about your last couple of weeks. I mean, life's crazy over here too, but I'm going to be talking a lot this episode probably. So let's start with you.
Yeah, last week was like fucked. To no degree. And I think it was more because, and this always happens, that a busy week, I just have so many things all coming to like the finish mode or release time. So it was like Through a Lens, episode 1. The next day, Endgame was putting out our new single, Devil in Disguise. So we just dropped that. And then that same day that song came out, I was flying down to Los Angeles for a work trip, doing some podcasts for work. So it was like literally like a very stressful, like, you know, and we had guests that were being like dumb and not getting back to me. And then we had to drop someone and it was just a lot. So I'm glad to be back home for sure. Really stoked about the trip itself. I got to hang out, the first day of recording. We actually got to do episodes at Taylor Young's studio, The Pit. Incredible. Taylor was one of the guests themselves, but it was really cool to like see that space in person and realize it is like a mousetrap size. It's very, very small.
And how much legendary shit has gone down there?
Yeah, the amount of crushing
there.
Well, yeah, the amount of crushing breakdowns that have been written and recorded in that space is like you can't even count. It's funny because as soon as I had flown home, I think I saw Xavier, who plays in Vamakara, his other band, Upon Stone, was recording their next release in there. And it's just like, one day it's a podcast place, and then Taylor's mixing some unreleased shit, and then it's more recording. So just want to plug him really quick. It was great to finally connect with him in person, and get to see the space and be like, hey, here's like this record that got released here. I realized that one point in the Scope podcast with him that he brought up was the Vibra Slap, which is like a little percussive tool that he uses, and it almost sounds like a rattlesnake if you record it like on the drop of a breakdown. So I was like, bro, you got to show me the Vibra Slap when I'm here. But I think we got carried away. So yeah, that was my week. Cool. Just like firing on all cylinders, lots of stuff going on.
What else in LA? Did you do anything else?
Oh right. I totally forgot that I love
LA. I'm living vicariously through you. I haven't been there since Sound and Fury before the pandemic. So I guess 2019 would be almost 3 years since I've been there, which is crazy because I used to be there a lot. So
yeah.
Just tell me about LA. What's going on there? What else did you do?
So it wasn't on my to-do list, or not to do, but just like on my list of things that were on my calendar. But there was a Rotting Out show that was happening in San Fernando, and my boss was like, you need to go to the show. And like, it was right after we had finished things up. I was flying out the next day, and I was like, I need to treat myself. So hopped in an Uber, ripped up. I think it was a very, seeing Rotting Out on home territory, so to speak, is like, that's a layer of sickness for sure. If those that are unaware, Wally, the singer of Rotting Out, was in a car accident. Well, he was hit by a car. So he's going into some surgery in the next little while and has 6 to 9 months of recovery. So when they started their set, he was like, I don't know when's the next time we're going to be playing. So you might as well just go the fuck off. So, there was already hometown advantage plus this like level of like, oh shit, like I really have to make it count. So, and
how big was the venue roughly? Do you know?
I want to say it was like maybe 300 cap. It's the same.
So cool.
It's the same venue that God's Hate did their record release shows. So if you've seen those 197 videos, it has like the giant windows kind of lining the venue. But yeah, it was beyond sick.
Unreal. I've never seen Rotting Out in that small of a environment. I've only ever seen them at like a fest. Like I think I saw them at like was it Rain Fest probably at some point, and then Sound and Furies that they've played. So I've never actually seen them in such like a small one-off kind of venue, which would be incredible. Never mind in California. That's so sick. Who else played that?
So the lineup was kind of a combination, and full disclosure, I was only able to get to the show in time to see Rotting Out, which was the last band, and the band before. But here's the thing. Cool. So I'll bring up the poster. The what is it? The Midnight Hour is the venue name. So I only found out about the show the second day I was there through friend of the show, Andrew Klein from Strife. So he was mentioning like, hey, there's this show going on. You should go check it out. So he sends me the poster, and it is no, Daniel, I can't talk to you right now.
Are we back? Hello. He just called me as well.
Yeah. It's all good. So the poster was Firestarter, Repeat Offender, Jinx, Pull Your Card, and then Rotting Out. And I was like,
yo, you saw Pull Your Card though? You got there for Pull Your Card? Well,
okay. Here's the thing. So we get to the show. I was like, okay, I for sure have missed Firestarter, which sucks because that's a band that friend of the show, Jamie, has hyped up to no end. So I was bummed about that, and I was extra bummed when I got to the show and I ran into another friend of Scoped in general, Brad, who used to play drums in a band called Reclaim, came up and played Wild Rose 2019, and he's like, bro, what the fuck are you doing here? And so we got to shoot the shit, and I found out that he was filling in drums for that show. So I was bummed not to see him drum in that way. So I was like, okay, so this band that's playing right now is probably this Repeat Offender band. We get in, and then I'm like, oh, okay, this Jinx band. Sorry. Oh, Jordan was just sending me a message. I will not use my hand as much, Jordan. So this band Jinx is supposed to start playing, and for some reason, when they started, I was like, "This sounds too heavy. Like this band's sound doesn't match their name. Like it sounded way too heavy to be like Jinx to me sounds like kind of like a punk hardcore kind of vibe. But this band had like tons of double kick, huge gang vocals. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So they play a really short set too. So that also threw me off. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get a little bit closer to the stage for Pull Your Card because I feel like that's going to be a crazy time. And then, time goes on and then Riding Out is on stage setting up. And I was like, did I see Pull Your Card or did I what happened? And then apparently Pull Your Card had, pun intended, pulled out at the last minute. And,
gotcha.
And then I was like, oh, but I was still perplexed with this Jinx band that sounded super heavy. But then realized when I got home after the show, the band that actually played was a band called Desmadre. And I love that band.
Yo! Okay, listen. So fucking good. So good. I saw them in November in Chicago. Did I? Yeah. I saw them in Chicago at the MH Chaos release show. Had never heard of them before. Blew my fucking mind. Sick band.
Yes.
Big ups to that band.
I definitely want to plug them. I was like, I wish I had known that that's who I was seeing, but I was like almost extra impressed. I'm like, who is this band? Like crazy response. They really put on a heck of a show. So I only realistically got to see Desmadre and Rotting Out. But it was
honestly, that's great. That's cool.
It was great.
You
go.
Two LA great LA bands to see if you're going to be down there. If they were the only two you saw the whole time.
Yes.
I wouldn't be mad about that.
Yeah, I think that there was a World Be Free show that Andrew was trying to get me to, but I was flying out before on the Saturday, so I couldn't have made it down to that. And
speaking of, before we move too far behind, speaking of Pull Your Card, they are playing a release party the next Friday, I believe. Vamakara, Madre, Dead Heat, Twist of Cain, Wrath of God.
Okay.
Is this in LA? In Long Beach. So if you're in the area, if you happen to be listening and you haven't heard of that somehow, you should go to that. I just saw it on Instagram today, so I thought I'd bring it up.
Yeah. So it was, and I think maybe the one last thing that I can kind of say before we kind of move on to other things. That was the first show in like longer than I can recall where A, I wasn't playing, and B, I wasn't filming. I was literally just hanging.
It's crazy that you say that because I actually was talking to Nikki about the fact that you were going to be trying to like make it to a show down there. And I was like, this might be the first show that he's going to that he's not filming and just like watching for the first time in forever. And I'm so happy you got that. How did it feel to not have your camera in your hand? Weird?
Definitely weird. It was almost humbling in a sense, and I'm not trying to sound high and mighty, but it was kind of like super nice not to have any responsibility or like I needed to be somewhere and be doing X, and I could literally just be passive and just like be in that moment. I will shout out Georgia, who I got to meet at the show as well, who got a photo of me because I saw that they went live on the Discovered Instagram, and I was like, well, if I'm not filming the show, at least I can just take a quick like live video or a quick couple stories or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. It definitely is something that I have like, I think I just will get in my head about when I'm not at the show. Like I need to do this, like no one else is going to do it. So I have to, but like there was tons of photographers. There was people taking video. So it was nice to kind of like take a back seat just for myself and just be a little bit more of like, an actual, not an outsider, but just like being there.
Can I say something? Yeah. I think that, and I don't know if you do, so don't take my word for it, but I can say this from doing photography when I was a bit younger, is that I always used my camera as like a vice. This similarly to how people use smoking cigarettes as a vice to being in really social places. It's that giving you something to do not a vice, that's the wrong word for it, but like almost like a comfort thing. Like, I'm busy, sorry. And
Okay.
I think that it would be really I think as your friend, but also as somebody who's watched this journey, I think it would be cool for you to do that every once in a while, just to have that like humbling experience almost of like, okay, no, this is actually what it's like to attend these shows and to not be constantly thinking about, did I get the right shot? Is this going to turn out? Is that lighting going to be fucked up when I edit this? Like,
Right.
what am I like, just to remind you what it's like to be in our position every once in a while. I want to challenge you to do that more often. Do with that what you will. Do it or don't do it.
We're just
but I want to
tossing
challenge you to do
challenges
that
now.
more
No.
often.
I do think I want. It's so funny because there's always a thing where there's a festival that comes up, and I know that maybe Sunny is covering it, or it's something else, and I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll just go down there and just hang out. Like that would be really fun. And then something goes
I was
180,
really
and it's
hoping
like,
you were gonna make it to LDB. I was really, because you were gonna try, right? To
well,
come
yeah,
down with
like
all
it
of
was
us.
originally Promcore 2021. I was like, I'm just gonna go there and hang out, and then I got asked to film, and that was a huge thing for us. And then I'm like, okay, the next thing will be LDB, and then of course that weekend I have a really major work trip that gets booked, and so it's like, okay, well, maybe like I feel like if I had to choose one now, I think it has to be like This Is Hardcore, because like I know that is gonna be
Like, you gotta do the
beyond
biggest one.
yeah. So
I'd say Outbreak. I know it's a lot harder. It's a lot further. It's like a bigger, like, yeah. I get it though. That makes sense.
so
I hope you get to join us at some point as a spectator. And
yeah,
not as somebody. Like, watching you at Promcore is so cool to see how much work you do, but it's so exhausting that we hardly even got to hang because you're just like filming 40 bands in a weekend or whatever. How many bands did you do that weekend?
47.
Was it 40?
47, yeah.
Unreal. See, like, how could you have time?
Yeah, and I think this is narration for like future Spencer, because I think I've had a lot of self-realizations about like the amount of things on my plate and what I can realistically actually have a handle on, and trying to figure out ways that I can step back in certain areas and allow other people to step forward. The last thing I ever want to do is have to hang up any of the creative pursuits that I have, but I think that there's a way to find a new sense of rhythm to be able to not carry the weight of everything. So that's this is me timestamping it when I'm like, hey, this is happening.
I'll
now.
pull this clip up. I'll pull this up in the future.
Yeah.
Now we have it as evidence.
Okay. So that's my vibe check. How are you doing?
Cool. Jessa? LA sounded dope. I'm good. Again, I'm in Indiana. I know I've already covered that so that people don't think that I'm being forced to record this against my will. So I'm in Indiana right now. I drove up here with a homegirl of mine after LDB because I was supposed to be going home like tomorrow was originally the plan. And this is why I don't book my flights home. I'm always getting shit from people like, why? How are you going through the border without a flight home booked? Like, you're going to get denied, which totally could happen. Like, it's definitely a gamble that I'm taking, pun totally intended, because I was just in Vegas, but it is a gamble I take crossing the border. But I have been given the opportunity to head down to Not So Fun Weekend in Texas, which are the two last Gulch shows in Texas. We've got Dallas on Saturday and Austin on Sunday. I've got a couple of friends who are going to be tagging along, and there was one thing led to another with the boys in Ingrown at the beginning of their tour, and they ended up with an extra spot on their package. So I'll be heading down there with all of them this weekend. So I just needed somewhere to hang out in the meantime and work and get some stuff done. So I'm here just outside of Gary. If you've never heard of it, Gary is just south of Chicago. Southeast, I think. Don't ask me. I'm not great at geography, but so I'm down here. I've been hanging out. No, at all. Absolutely not. But it's it's been really fun. I've just been hanging out, decompressing after LDB, which was definitely necessary. It was a pretty wild weekend. So it's been nice. Vegas, Okay. Let's first address the gamble. The $100 that
Right.
Spencer sent me.
I
feel
was
we need to
afraid
get
of
that
this
out of the
coming
way.
up.
Well, it's going to. So we're there, and me and Dan, a friend of the pod, shout out Daniel, we were thinking about this money that Spencer had sent me in the middle of our last episode, and Daniel's like, listen, like, are you sure he wants it all on one bet? And I said, yes, this is what Spencer said. He said, put 100 on black and that's it. So I believe that Daniel texted you and said, hey man, are you sure? Like, are you sure you don't want us to try harder? And you were committed. I will say that just so that the people hear it. You were committed. You said, nope, whole $100, which ended up being like closer to 80 American, full disclosure.
Because it's rough up here when it comes to exchange rates.
Don't even get me started. So I said, okay. I said, fine. I'll throw all of it down on black on roulette. And we waited a couple days because I was like not having a good feeling about it. And then finally I said, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's get it over with. Of course, Spencer would have liked us to film this bet, but if you've ever been to Vegas, you know that you cannot have cell phones anywhere near a table because they will kick you out. Like, they're not nice about it. So I wasn't trying to be that bitch. So I did it, and I sent him a video immediately after, and it was, we're not showing it. I request that we aren't showing that. I was not sober, but I was like, sorry, man. If I'm being honest, I was like, sorry, man, we lost it because it was. And you know what sucks? Dan was winning on black the whole weekend. The man even tossed me $50 in I was supposed to call them tokens in chips at one point, and I made it into like 300 in like a couple hours. So it's like playing black on roulette was doing us well a lot of the weekend, but that
up
one
until
bet
that
somehow
moment,
just like there was a couple other moments where it was like, ooh, but it was that one bet. It just wasn't it. So you tried. Appreciate the effort there.
Yeah, I was a little salty when you sent me the video because I'm like, y'all aren't wearing black. You need to wear the color that you're betting on for good luck. But it is, it is what it is.
It sure is. And maybe you've learned your lesson.
To not just do one bet or not to gamble ever. No, I thought, sometimes you got to risk it for the cheese biscuit and, no biscuit this time.
No biscuit.
I will say, I'll say this. If we make it to 100 Through Our Lens episodes, we'll do that again, but the bets will be bigger.
Okay. You know what?
That's a ways away. So I'm like, I can save up for that.
We got some time. I will be going back to Vegas for sure. We were able to,
this is not a tradition anytime you go to Vegas. Don't bleed me dry here.
No, don't worry. I didn't ask for this. No, I will be going back to Vegas. We had the privilege of checking out the Drain Pain of Truth Ingrown tour on the like pretty early on in our trip in Vegas. They were on their way to LDB, and we were able to catch that, and that was like honestly so rad. Like I said it before, like I really love checking out other local scenes because it's just so interesting to see the difference and the energy that's brought and things like that. And it's kind of nice to be in a room with, and you get this on a very large scale when you go to a fest, but being in a room with other hardcore kids, like in another city, just at their like Sunday night show, is something really special. So that was awesome. And I met so many awesome people down in Vegas on that tour. Was able to see a couple friends from California who drove out. So that was awesome. So I will be going down to Vegas, and not just to gamble this time. I will definitely be trying to hit a show there again because that was awesome. Shout out to Black Path, Las Vegas Hardcore for putting that.
It was totally funny because the last guest podcast, as far as the time of recording this, we put out was Nick Chance from Distinguisher, and he's on tour with his band right now, but they're from from Vegas, and and he was snapping photos of the show, and I just like, it was just all
cool.
these like funny
Small
things
world,
of
yeah.
just, you know, the hardcore world is small, but yeah, like it's super interesting.
Yeah, you're telling me.
Yeah, I think Las Vegas is one of those scenes that I need to educate myself on a little bit more when it comes to like local bands that are from there. Distinguisher is one of the only few that I know of.
Mm-hmm. I don't know this for a fact. This could have just been a fluke of who I happened to meet. It seems like a scene that has a lot of transplants in comparison to where I've been spending a lot of time, like Milwaukee and Gary and Chicago. It's like when you're at a show in Milwaukee, most of those people are born and raised Wisconsin folk. Whereas a lot of the people I met in Vegas were like, oh no, I'm from so and so, like I'm from, you know, Colorado, but I live here, or I'm from wherever and I live here. So that's kind of cool. I think just the city it is, like it's kind of one of those cities that it'd be like in Canada, like our version of like Vancouver, for example, where Vancouver, you have a lot of people who are not originally from Vancouver. They're not born and raised there, but that's where they rep, and that's where they spend a lot of their time.
Okay.
So that was really sweet. And I cannot thank the people who took care of me and Dan enough. Jocelyn and Jess in particular. We had a situation, some plans fell through, and Jess is a Twitter mutual that I've had forever and saved my ass, picked me up from the airport. We were able to spend an evening together and getting to know each other. And then we went to the show together, and it was just like really awesome. And then at the show, didn't even like put two and two together until I run into my friend Jocelyn, who I've met at Sound and Fury for the last couple of years. And she's like, what are you doing here? Like, this is so out of place. What's going on? And then ended up taking us out for food later in the week. And just like, I was reminded this week, honestly, and even just right now, sitting in this van in Colin's park or Colin's driveway, but I'm just like constantly blown away on trips like this of like how ingrained in our culture it is to just like take care of our own. And like Ingrown they had a really like tough couple of first days of tour, ended up without a place to stay in Vegas. And Dan and I were like, we have this whole ass hotel room, like come through, it's fine. Like, don't worry about paying us, we've already got it. Like, and it's and when they were thanking me profusely for it, I'm like, yo, like you're part of the team, like we take care of our own, it's fine. And I was able to pay it forward in that way. And it's just like, I don't even know, it kind of blows me away. I'm like getting goosebumps even thinking about it. But it's just, you recognize it a lot. I'm not like on tour per se, but I've been not at home this whole time. And as things come up and as things happen, I'm like constantly, time and time again, having people that I know through hardcore, whether it's somebody that I know through fucking Twitter or somebody that is a familiar face from a fest that I've been to for years, just constantly showing up for us and taking care of us. And it's wild. It's wild to even think about it. And I don't think that many other communities or cultures really have that. And I think a lot of people, if you've been on tour, you've experienced that at some point, I'm sure, whether it be, you know, someone letting you sleep in their basement or on their living room floor, or, you know, telling you what local food spot to go to if you're vegan and it's hard to find. Like, it's pretty incredible. And Vegas in particular, this whole trip, but Vegas in particular was a really, really amazing reminder of that. And I'm super grateful. So.
Yeah, I think maybe unintentionally, hardcore has taught a lot of people how life has fleeting moments. Because like it's, you know, I'm thinking of when Tyler Short was on the podcast and he's like, I've been at the pizza place that's like 10 blocks away from This Is Hardcore, and then I get a text that my favorite band is doing a surprise reunion thing. And I think it's very like it's really instilled in us to like, to when we see opportunity to really like relish in it and like take advantage of it and like not overthink it. So like, yeah, when you run into a homie and you're like, hey, like I can help them out with some food because I know that they're traveling and I'm sure that they're tight on money, and it's just all these things. And especially when it's bands, it's like, oh, you need a place to stay? I got a big floor. I got 2 dogs. You like dogs? You know, we can do that. So I think it's like, I definitely agree that like you wouldn't see that at like a indie pop like gig, and I
It's not the
love a lot
same,
of
yeah.
indie pop, but it's like we recognize that a lot of what happens in the hardcore space majority of the time is like done by a friend of a friend, and it's all for the love of the game, and anything that we can do, small or big, to make that night better for that person, for that band, for that promoter, I think it just really goes the distance. So yeah, like
real recognize real for sure. It's kind of it's nuts. And since I'm gonna take the moment to shout out Sydney, who is a friend of mine that I met at FIA merely a couple months ago. Literally throw on Instagram, throw on Twitter, whatever. Who do I know in Dallas that can put me up this weekend so I can fly in a bit earlier? Right away. Like, hey, I got you. Like, no worries. And that it's just another example. It's like something that you don't experience other places, and I'm feeling very, very grateful for that today.
So. Yeah, and it's everything from that to like when I'm on my podcast trip and Taylor's like, we do his episode and then he's like, he's not engineering the actual podcast. So he's like, well, I don't need to be in here, so you guys can just text me when you're done. And like, there is full like alternate timeline evil Spencer and evil podcast hosts and guests where it's like, oh, this is our time to raid the pit studio. But there's like this upfront trust that's handed to people, especially in the hardcore space. And I think that's like, it's just necessary for things to actually get done versus like trying to like, this person needs to earn my trust and being all like weird about it. Cause then it's like, I feel like people that like play in that realm just get ignored because like there's 9 other people who are willing to put you up, like buy you a meal, like drive you like literally in the opposite direction home after a show versus like
I have a random
else.
I mean I'm sure after tomorrow she'll be my friend, but I've got a random person driving me to the Chicago airport tomorrow just because they found out that I'm here and I need to get to Chicago to go to the airport, and like they happen to be going that way. Like it's this is I'm gonna try really hard not to get in the habit on this podcast to be like, this is corny, but honestly, like this is gonna sound corny, but it's like, it's hardcore for hardcore is so fucking real, and it like whatever. I'm just blown away.
Yeah.
Can I use talking about that flight as a nice segue to talk about this fucking show I'm gonna be going to this weekend?
Please.
Because Nikki's always been going, so I always kind of knew about it. But I just want to go through this lineup because it's incredible. And the fact that I get to see it not once, but twice this weekend, like endless thanks to the Ingrown Boys for being willing to pull me onto their team for this weekend, because it's just an incredible opportunity. So we're March 19th in Dallas, Fort Worth, and then March 20th in Austin, Texas. Same lineup both days. So starting off the day, I'm not sure if this is going to be in order of sets, but I'm just reading bottom to top of the flyer here. So it starts with Extinguisher, who I've never seen before.
They are
vaguely, sick. Yeah, I've hardly listened to them. I've maybe heard them once, so I'm excited to see that. Then we've got Ingrown, shout out, Boise on top. Very stoked with the attention and the recognition that they've been getting on this past tour. Every single night I see them reposting, or I see somebody else posting like, yo, Ingrown blew my mind tonight, this whole tour. And I'm like, I'm so proud. It's just like, I'm so happy for them to be getting this opportunity.
Can I say they were the last band that I thought that they would do like a stage scrim banner, but I love that they have one. I love that it's camo and orange.
Of course it is.
Like when I saw that, I was like, you know what? That makes sense because they don't have a front person who's like running around. They're just playing their wild ass like Idaho music, like as a 3-piece, and everyone's like standing still and doing that. So you need to have a ridiculous like I'm going hunting like kind of stage banner with your band name.
Since we're talking about it, given the unfortunate circumstances and their drummer having to go home a bit early, they played a couple of the dates at the beginning of the tour out of necessity as a 2-piece. And I saw them the night before they had to do that. And I know, sorry, I'm exposing you, Charlie, on this episode, but Charlie was pretty nervous about it. And he's like, yeah, I just don't know. It's going to be a lot of people's first time seeing us. And I was like, yo, honestly, the fact that you're a 3-piece already, and I'll mention this before and I'll mention it 5 million times. I'm not a musician. So like minor things that maybe don't blow your mind, blow my mind. The fact that they make such ass beating music and bring so much energy to their shows as a 3-piece already blows my mind. And I was like, I wish I could be there. I wish I could just see that for what it is. And when I saw videos, I hope it wasn't just people going off because they recognized the situation and they like were overcompensating, but like it looked fun as fuck. And I was like,
agreed,
damn,
100%.
It blew it, just the fact that they even pulled it off and that they tried to, instead of going like, oh, this sucks, like our fill-in doesn't get here until Wednesday, we're just gonna drop everything in between. They didn't do that. They were like, we'll just play as a 2-piece, we'll figure it out and we'll roll with the punches. So that was really cool. So shout out shout out Ingrown. I can't say anything I haven't said before.
Like the fact that band is so sick as 3 individuals is impressive enough. The fact that they could still pull it off with some like, you know, spicy gear that, you know, Taylor hooked them up with so they can play as a 2-piece is that much more impressive. And it's like
incredible.
They just went full like White Stripes mode. And they're like, we're just a drummer and a guitar player and, you know, you're going to like it or hate it. And people seem to eat it up like candy. And that's so sick.
Shout out to Ross and Charlie. Those are the real G's. That's the team. Shortly, I lost this poster. Hold up. Shortly after that, I can even tell you from memory. So after that, we've got Scowl and then Zulu, which are 2 bands that I absolutely love. I've been able to see them already since the pandemic over at Promcore, but very excited to see them again. Pain of Truth.
Did you buy your Touche ticket? I bought mine today.
No, but that's a good reminder. I should buy mine.
Future Jessa is going to be so upset if you can't get a ticket, and I told you on this podcast, but...
I know. Okay, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. It's on record now. I'm going to do it.
Pain of Truth.
Pain of Truth. I'll talk about them later. I'll talk about them later. I'm very excited to be able to see them 2 more times before I go home. Action News, who's actually a band I've never heard of. Maybe I'm living under a rock.
Jesus Peace. Aaron from Jesus Peace plays in Action News.
Oh, cool. Okay, sweet.
I think they've only played like 1 or 2 shows.
Okay.
So
cool. Well,
I'm jealous that you get to see them. That's sick.
Yeah, Bib, Buggin, which I'm excited about as well. They're from Chicago out here. Nate No Face, Gel, which I'm very excited about. Gel killed their LDB set, and they were playing in Milwaukee last night. And I was hoping to be able to make it up there, but it's a couple hours of driving, and I just wasn't able to make it work. But I wish I could. I'm excited to see No Right again. I haven't seen them since they played the Scopes 2 year that we put on in 2019.
Yeah, right? that's been a fucking minute. I think
it's been a long time.
Sierra messaged me the flyer of those shows, and she was asking me to come down. I was like, oh man, that does sound fun, but I knew that I had that work trip, and usually I have to have a little bit of buffer time. But
yeah, exactly.
You'll have to say hi on behalf of both of us.
I will absolutely. So No Right, and then listen to this block, okay? Tsunami. Shout out to the homies, Tsunami. Mind Force, Drain, and Gulch.
Whew.
What? I know a lot of those bands, I'm not going to spend too much time on it because a lot of those bands did play LDB, so we might get into it a little bit, but I'm just very excited. Just that seeing that Ingrown, Pain of Truth, Drain package again, it'll be 4 times. By the time I go home between this, LDB and Vegas, and like so grateful for the opportunity, honestly. And then Gulch is a huge one for me because I have had tickets to see Gulch in the last 6 months probably 3 times. First time didn't work out, wasn't a big deal. I had tickets to see them in Chicago in December. December didn't work out. I was going to drive down from Winnipeg where I was visiting for Christmas. Didn't work out. The weather sucked. Not a big deal because I'll see them at FYA. And then they were not able to make it to FYA. And So I was like, kind of had spent some time just accepting the fact that I was just never going to see Gulch live again. I have seen them once. It's not like I've never seen them before, but yeah, very much looking forward to that. So that's going to be very exciting. Also to see Texas. I'm excited. I'm sure I'll see a lot of homies down there. And I know there's a lot of friends that are going to be there because they're playing, but I'm excited to yet again see, another scene.
You'll get to
and
see
for some, like big shows.
You'll get to see Fubu Man in home territory.
True. His band, Gagging Order, is playing tomorrow. Nope. Well, by the time you listen to this, it's too late anyway, so it doesn't matter. They're playing the night before this weekend as like I guess it's like a bit of a pre-show in Dallas. There's like a couple of bands that are going to be on that show, plus Gagging Order and a couple of other bands playing.
Yeah.
In Fort Worth, the show is sold out, so I guess it doesn't really matter. It's not a plug for it by any means, but they are playing.
It's always funny because it's like people talk about Fubu Man and I'm like, plug his band. Like his band should reap the benefits of his crazy ass like monkey mosh.
You know what?
Like,
and I think that their set popped off this past weekend. So
because they played the pre-show. Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping some people got the opportunity to
I should ask him if he feels pressured to wear the Fubu jersey at every hardcore event now. Like he's
honestly, that's a really good question. I was shocked.
That's like you get recognized to be as like the whoopee cushion guy from that one This Is Hardcore video that Sonny filmed. It's like, oh, am I that person now? But it's like it's a little bit different because it's more of like something you can wear at like a certain occasion versus a whoopee cushion costume. But
I would be. Has
Chance,
he ever been on
you
the
let
podcast?
me know, man.
Have you ever asked? Yeah, has he ever been on the podcast, or have you ever asked him to be?
I'm trying to get him on.
Let's go, bud.
I'm trying.
I'll mention it this weekend.
It'd be like Chance Fubu Man, like in brand.
Yeah, I would like. Yeah, the folklore. No, cool. So that's my life. When I go home, I guess this will be coming out prior to this show. So I'm actually not going straight home to Calgary. I'm going to Vancouver first, so I will be back in Canada, but I won't be home. And I'm going to check out Witness Chamber and Apex Predator next Friday. So, life's just crazy. Being on the road in this way, I used to have a really hard time with it. Like when I first started traveling again back in the fall, and I think I'm finally getting used to it. But I'm ready to be home for a little while. I've been having the time of my life, but I'm ready to be home for a little bit.
As long as you're coming right in time to see Endgame play our show on
I was
Saturday.
Gonna say my flight home, I have to go straight from the airport, I think possibly to that show. I don't know for sure. I maybe will have time to run home, but I might have to head straight there. So we'll see. I am flying home that day though.
Okay. It's great to hear. I'm definitely very excited for you, and also I think just like the natural FOMO of being able to see so many dope bands. But yeah, it's crucial the amount of stuff that you're witnessing and getting to rub shoulders with all these people and like build your own sense of connections. And I think that's really dope.
Been very cool. Should we talk LDB? We're like almost 45 minutes into this.
I was like, I don't know if we're gonna talk about stuff beforehand, but we've talked so much about LDB. I think we should definitely just get into it and then see if we have enough time for anything else.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Well,
I think one of the first things as an outsider, how was because you were at the 2020 fest as well as this one. What was the difference for you as an attendee with the the venue change?
I don't know. I don't really have too many thoughts about that because it had been my first time at Riot Skate Park. And then obviously our first time at this new venue. And it was a necessary change. Like you saw how many people were there, and it was a very necessary change. I can't imagine having as good a time as I had this past weekend had they tried to pack as many people as they physically could into Riot. I don't know how much the actual attendance played into the new venue, if that was like the main reason or what, I'm not sure. But I can't imagine having such a good time. The stage was a lot bigger, which I think made the mosh better. I think that it was allowed bands to really put on a bit of a different show with such a large scale stage. And it just like, it looked so good. They worked so hard. Before we get into any of that, I want to shout out Ryan and Alex and Colin and Julia. And not only those four, but everybody else that they had helping them run the weekend. It like gives me goosebumps. I'm even getting goosebumps thinking about it. It is such an incredible privilege to watch what they were able to do with this blank space that doesn't normally do music events, and the way that they made it such a perfect spot for this year's LDB. Like the stage looked incredible. I'm sure a lot of you have seen, pictures, or you will be seeing videos or have already seen videos of the stage and the backdrop that they had. It just chef's kiss. Like, first off, amazing job. You should all be very, very proud of yourselves. I know that it truly does take a village to pull something like that off, but you did a very, very good job. And I'm very blessed to have been a part of it and to have been there as an attendee. But yeah, new venue was dope. Merch area in the back, space was wide enough. You had 2 pillars on either side. Maybe I'm really bad at measurements. Again, I'm not a compass. I'm also bad at measurements. But 2 pillars that were kind of in a nice spot. As somebody who is 5'2" and doesn't like to get moshed on all the time, it was a good setup that way. The staff was really friendly as far as any interactions that I had. Bathroom situation could have been better, but I just hate porta potties, and it was better than Riot. I'll say that. It was better than Riot.
Does Riot just have one porta potty, or like just one?
Riot, to my knowledge, there might have been a hiding one that I didn't know about, but Riot had one single bathroom, not even like a stall bathroom, one single bathroom room, and then porta potties outside.
Damn.
And that was it. So Riot's bathroom situation, I feel like that's like gives some people some PTSD, but yeah. So, but I mean, it wasn't great, but what are you gonna do, honestly, unless you're getting a venue that's like made for that amount of people? And a lot of the times in hardcore, this is something like we're learning and the stuff that we're working on. It's like it's really hard to get a proper music venue that can hold 5 to 1,000 people standing room. A lot of the times you're turning a space that's made for sitting room typically. So this venue they usually do, like Ryan was telling me, they usually do like theater type of stuff. So they don't usually do standing room only type of events.
Right.
And yeah, it's one of those things. It's hard to figure out. So it was better, but it wasn't great.
But I do think that like the list of things that you want to have like a graded as like an A+, the stage setup A+, band lineup A+. If like the bathroom situation is like a C,
it is
who fucking cares at that point? Like
literally.
there's greater focuses, and it really sounds like Ryan and Alex and the whole damn crew just really knocked it out of the park, and that makes me really excited. Hopefully, I wasn't there, but to my knowledge, there wasn't any like rebuilding of the stages in the middle of playing or anything like that.
Not that I noticed. So
not that you noticed, and that's the beauty
and that's the
of
key.
the fest. Right?
Yeah. Amazing. So that's venue report. I don't have much more to say about it. It was great. It was a cool venue. Not be mad if they went back there. It was cool.
So I polled a couple people before we were recording about if people went to LDB, what their favorite sets were.
Yes.
And this will be a point that we're going to talk about in a bit, but if people watch the Twitch stream as well. So the first being, it was a 20% yes and 80% no when it comes to did you go to
was I at LDB?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you know about roughly how many people voted?
Well, as far as the time we're recording this, it's only been 65. But I only
Gotcha.
did this like
that's still a lot though.
yeah, I only did this
For
like
the
maybe 3
couple
hours
hours
ago or
ago.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But very ironically or unironically, when I asked, did you watch this Twitch stream, it's 60 to 40 for yes to no.
60 watched it?
Yes.
Nice. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So we're gonna get into that in a little bit. And you know, like the scoped audience as far as Instagram goes was, you know, stretches very you know, vast. We got people in Europe and Australia and fucking all over the place. But before we get into favorite sets, Jess, I'm sure the people want to know top 3 sets from LDB weekend.
Top 3.
Yes.
I'm not gonna order them because
no.
I can't put them in order.
It's hard enough to pick a top 3 in general. So
yeah. Pain of Truth. If I had to put them in order, Pain of Truth would be at the top. I would say Pain of Truth, Ingrown, which I know people are gonna be like, yeah, duh, but like truly, it was so for both bands actually. For both bands, it was so fucking cool to see so many people going off to 2 bands that truly deserve it. Honestly, not that there's bands that don't deserve it. I shouldn't say that, 'cause that implies that there's bands that but honestly, it's just like the sheer amount of people going off for both sets is like was incredible, and like I just can't, it's almost indescribable how awesome that was to be able to witness that and be a part of that. So yeah, huge love for that. And then I'm gonna have to say probably King 9. It's gonna be a toss up between King 9 and Mind Force.
Okay.
King 9 was really cool because it has been so long since I've seen them live, and they're just like, I think they've stood the test of time. And to see, there were so many people out from New York. There was a really heavy Northeast presence at the fest, and that was very clear. So to see that was really awesome to witness. And then Mind Force covered Marauder, which was like, to me in my brain, like is not out of place naturally, but like also you don't think Mind Force and you don't think Marauder when you listen to Mind Force. You know what I mean? Like sonically, it's just not really the same at all. So so that was really cool. And Mind Force is just one of my favorite bands right now. So that was really awesome. Honorary mention though to Weapon X, because I know Trey's podcast just went up not too long ago.
Yeah.
That was before the demo was released. And the demo was released, I should have looked into this not long before the set. Mere days, I think.
Ironically, the same day that Endgame dropped our single. And I was like, Trey, you should have told me.
So a couple days before their set, maybe less than 72 hours, that demo was released, and there were still so many people singing every word. That was their first coolest, I'll go on record and say, coolest first set ever, arguably.
Damn, okay.
Maybe not ever, because I'm not an expert on people's first sets, and I'm not looking into what people's first sets were every time I find a band that I like, but coolest first set that I've ever witnessed, that's for sure. You never know what to expect. But shout out to those guys. Dave, very dear person to me. Somebody was texting me leading up to the fest saying, hey, if you see the vocalist of Weapon X, say hello for me. I haven't seen him in a while. And I was like, oh, Dave's the best. He's the shit. And this person messaged me back saying, if everybody in hardcore was like Dave, we'd be in a really good spot. And I have to say that publicly because I agree. Has always been the nicest and deserves everything that comes his way, and Weapon X kills it. So they deserve all the attention as well.
I mean, if I'm down just off of that cosign, I'd be down to have Dave on the podcast. And then theoretically, I've had every member of Weapon X on the podcast, whether we talked about that or not.
There you go. By accident.
By accident. No, that's super sick. And yeah, like I thought it was cool to see as, you know, 2 individuals like Brian and Isaac have knocked loose arguably like one of the biggest bands in hardcore to like be opening a fest in their hometown. I'm sure that was like kind of alluding to what we were saying earlier of like doing something that's not in the norm. Like for me, like to not be filming a show, to not be headlining or doing a massive gig like that, and being like, we're playing a big gig, but we're playing very first in the day. So I think that's very cool to see.
I will say that not only speaks to Louisville hardcore and speaks to who those guys are as people, but I think that does go to speak to hardcore and how, particularly Knock Loose, how they have just like been so, I want to be careful how I word this, but they are so true to like the ethics of hardcore that they arguably they're in a place where they're like, no, we're not opening some fest, which in my opinion would be fucking whack for anyone to say that. But I think that goes to show that they've done such a good job to work so hard to get to the place that Knock Loose is at, and they are not letting it get to their heads. I didn't ever take either of them to be those type of people, but it's just like a very clear sign that in hardcore, like even if your band blows up like Knock Loose and you're playing, you know, huge venues and huge tours with, you know, in scenes that are arguably not the hardcore scene, it's you can still come back to the beginning and start a new band with your homies and play that opening slot of a fest that maybe that was the only slot you were getting a couple of years ago, right? So
and like I like how you said like go right back to the beginning. I really like that analogy. And obviously like I think a lot of people were maybe more open to like open up their Spotify and checking out that Weapon X demo because of, you know, it's Trey and it's Brian and it's I like that's an obvious thing. But I do think that it is cool to allow like people to discover that and get hype and give that same like high level crowd response to the very first band. And I hope that carried over into the bands that played after that maybe didn't have as much quote unquote hardcore clout attached to them. But it's very cool to see. As far as responses for favorite sets, you know, there's definitely some people echoing to some of the choices you said. Pain of Truth, King 9, Pain of Truth, Drain. This person just said Emilio like gave me 7. God's Hate, Age of Apocalypse, Queensway, No Pressure, Drain, Momentum, and then someone also said Momentum. Definitely do want to shout out the Bulletproof Vest that made its debut. We love to see that.
Yeah, that was good. You know what? I do also have to shout out Momentum, call out Momentum. No, I would never call them out, but they were actually supposed to play the pre-show, and then they say it was an accident, but like they ended up playing the first day because they missed their flight. I'm just gonna say it here. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think it was on purpose, but very cool opportunity, just like a happy accident that something goes wrong and they were able to find room for them and throw them on the first day of the fest. And I honestly think that it was meant to be, because that band fully deserved the spot that they got and blew me away. I haven't seen Momentum play since they played Wild Rose a number of years ago, and they've obviously progressed so much in that time. They've got a couple of new members and just have this new record out, and so I'm very happy that I was able to see that, just because yeah, it was really cool. And yeah, shout out to that, the ode to the online discourse that happened following an incident in New Mexico.
This is the segue moment to
this
next
maybe
topic.
Is a segue. There's not a whole lot that I can say on the topic, but I think those of you, if you know what happened in New Mexico, or you saw online what happened in New Mexico, I think that it speaks to how important it is to consider the effects. This is something that I've been saying a lot, and I don't really know how to word it properly, but I think all I can really say is that something like what happened in New Mexico has a very real impact on a scene that already doesn't get that many bands going through it. And so I would just like to take this opportunity to encourage people to consider the effects of your larger community before you want to go on the internet and do this, because
Yes.
that's very cryptic, and I'm sorry, but that's the only way I can say it, is that like, just consider the effects of just your actions on the internet to the people around you when it comes to hardcore, because I hate that we probably will see less bands going through New Mexico after all of that. For what would normally not interrupt for something that comes up on my phone. I just got a email from LDB saying that the LDB store is live again. They took everything down. Because everybody was at the fest, and then not only that, but they sell so much inventory at the fest that I can't even. I work in e-commerce for my day job, so I can't imagine the what a pain in the ass it would be to manage inventory when you're selling in person the one time of year and also selling online. Mm-hmm. So for those of you watching, ASAP, as of Wednesday, after the fest, the LDB store is back online. They probably don't have a whole lot in stock after the weekend. I hope they had a successful weekend, but I just got that notification, so figured I would mention it. While you talk, I'm going to try to fix my lighting situation here, because
it's very we're getting into a very gradient-esque kind of like.
This is just
I feel like there's an Instagram filter that like has slowly emerged in as you were on it.
Right.
Anyways, to go back to what you were saying about the whole momentum in New Mexico thing, I think this was a subject that I think we both went back and forth, like how much would we actually talk about this? And I think even the time of recording this, it even feels like, how much
do I want to talk about it? Really, is what it comes down to. Not how much should we. How much do I even really have to say about it?
Right.
Because.
And I think, even just the time of recording this, it already feels like such old news at this point. But I do think that one of the points where you were bringing up is like, if what you say represents your scene, it's no different than like when a band is coming through town and you want to show them like a good ass time. And like, I'm thinking back when like local homie Evan McIsaac was on the podcast. And he grew up in the Ottawa hardcore scene, and like it was so important to him to like beat the shit out of his friends and get beat up by his friends as well when those bands would come to town, because it's so out of the way compared to the Torontos and all those kind of like Ontario spots. But they were trying very intently to like make it a good time, so that when bands would go back and talk to their local friends, like, yeah, you got to go up to Ottawa. There's like crazy people there, and they buy all the merch and do all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think the same effect happens when there's some kind of scuffle and there's some kind of thing where you just take to the internet because you're trying to like be right, or you're trying to bash the integrity of a band off of something as small as microphone stands. And again, we're not going to get into the actual like details of the actual thing, but I think something that was instilled in me a lot when I was in high school was like, it was always when we were going on field trips and teachers would be like, you are representing your school when you're, going to the fucking museum. And if you go and you're acting a fool, that looks bad on the school. And I think that same mantra applies for your scene. If you're going to a fest and you're being a shit face and someone's like, oh, this person is from this scene, that has ramifications,
Well, and this is definitely a unique perspective to have as somebody from a smaller city in Canada. But I think that there's a lot of people listening that are going to be able to identify with this, is that those of us who have been around for a minute have seen a scene die because one band had a shitty experience. But guess what? That band is from LA. Chances of you getting LA bands up to your city again, probably not that likely. Mm-hmm. Because people, just in the same way that how you and Evan were speaking about it, where you give this band the best time ever, you show them that this scene moshes like crazy, we all show up, the shows are lit, like they're packed, whatever. Or a promoter, a promoter does a really good job at a show. The same way that those positive things will affect the strength of a scene, because those bands are going back to their own scenes or back to their own regions, and they're saying, yo, I know you normally wouldn't route this way, but you need to make sure you hit Winnipeg, Manitoba on your way up, because that scene is fucking cool. And there's all of these people who go up and they love having hardcore shows up there. It works the opposite way too. And like, that's all I'm going to say about the situation, is that it works the same way. And like, have some fucking consideration for, and that's why I didn't want to get too much into it, because I don't know what the fuck happened. I don't know what the intentions were when things were put online in the first place. But I think that there's a greater impact that a lot of, and I say these kids, and I don't mean that in like a derogatory form like some people do, but like it's very clear, you can tell when someone is new to hardcore and they just have never seen the brunt end of that, and they've never seen the shitty domino effect of a situation like that. And again, like, sucks for kids in New Mexico who now might get less shows because of something that happened. And it's just like, by no means, I don't know. I have nothing to say about what exactly happened or why it happened, but I just wish people would have a greater consideration for how a band's negative experience can have just as much of an impact as a really positive experience. It's just something to think about.
Right. And I think the last thing I'll say is, like, I'm sure, like, I don't know how many New Mexico listeners that we have for this podcast, but I'm sure that there are people within that scene that are just have shook their heads for weeks of like, I can't believe that these kids,
like, damn.
Yeah, totally. And it's no different than, like, that's why painting with a broad brush is dangerous, I think, at times. Mm-hmm. But it's most bands can't afford to roll the dice to go to a scene that they know. Like, for myself, I'm thinking back when I was in Extract and we played fucking Peoria, Illinois, and the show was shit. Mm-hmm. And then I, like, years later would find videos of like packed out rooms for very similar bands. I'm trying to be as best as I can when it comes to giving that scene. I'm not trying to run them through the mud. I'm speaking my experience, and I feel like that's all that bands can really do. So that's all we'll say on that. Please don't fire off the DMs of like, this is not.
I will very much go on record and say I'm not looking for a debate on what happened. I don't give a fuck what happened. To be honest, to be quite frank with you, I don't give a fuck what happened. I'm just thinking about how shitty that is. The domino effect of the internet. Can we speak about the internet? And I think that's a pretty good segue to something that I noticed at LDB, and I want to talk about the Twitch stream. Mm-hmm. Because, for one, I can't escape this light. I am so sorry.
Jordan was texting me being like, roast Jessa for half of her face being off camera.
Fuck, dude, I know. I can't help it. So, Twitch stream. Very, very fucking cool idea. No offense. I hope every fest doesn't start getting streamed on Twitch, just because I don't see the. I think it's a cool idea, but and I definitely see the benefits of it. But I'm gonna try this again, mid-sentence. Nope, that's far worse. I'm sorry. I'll finish the sentence, then I'll move after. Sure. But tell me how you feel about the Twitch stream. As somebody who wasn't there, I don't know if you were able to tune in or not, even for a set or two, but just the whole idea, especially as an archivist, like, how do you feel? Because I was there, so it didn't really affect me too much.
I thought, and this is where Jordan is cutting away from Jessa, who's like rummaging in the background. Right? So I think I unfortunately did not catch any of the sets, again, being like so go on this work trip and running around and, being in the States and not having all the stable Wi-Fi, all that kind of stuff. So that being said, when it was announced, I was like, I'm surprised that hasn't happened sooner. And then when you messaged me when we were prepping for this episode and kind of gave me your thoughts and recap, I was like, I never would have thought about it that way, but that makes complete sense.
Cut for me, Jordan, please. Sorry.
So, and again, like as someone that films bands, I most often, like, I don't know if a band that I film at a Promcore or a Wild Rose or a Northern Alliance will go back and like go through every comment. And I'm not saying that most bands aren't getting hundreds of comments. There's, you know, the top scope set videos might have 50, if that. But, you know, largely it's positive, and, you know, you get a couple outlier shitheads or shit faces. What was the term that I used earlier?
I should also shit face. I don't know.
Shit faces.
I should also mention that for those who didn't tune in, not that I did a whole lot because I was there, but there was definitely, I just like wanted to check it out.
Whoa, so meta.
Whoa, crazy. No, I did the quality. It was a single camera set up at the back of the room. They weren't, you know, there was no streaming of Sonny's cameras to this multicam Twitch production. It wasn't like that. It was merely just like webcam looking thing at the back of the room, just like filming what's going on, cutting to a graphic between the bands and then streaming those sets. So it was by no means, and somebody had said this on stage. I don't remember who it was, but Brendan from Incendiary. Brendan. His name's Brendan, right?
I'll fact check it.
Fact check it. It's one of the two. Vocalist of Incendiary. Anyways, apologize for not knowing your name off the top of my head, but he had even said, he was like, yo, this, I believe it was him too. Brandon, there you go. Don't quote me on this, but it was something like, yo, shout out to everybody watching on Twitch. That's really cool. But don't forget, there's nothing that replaces being in this room. I'm pretty sure it was in this. Multiple people did say that on stage anyways. And it's true. Like, you can't, some people would argue, and I know you hear this argument a lot as an archivist, like, oh, people are going to stop going to shows if you keep filming them. That's not true. It's simply not true. And I would argue that the attendance of hardcore is what it is today due to people like yourself and Sonny and Stephen197 and these people who go out of their way to put these pieces of media on the internet, that they are now reaching kids that are maybe not old enough to start going to shows yet.
Or they
live
4
in a place,
kids.
And they don't live somewhere where there's an active scene, which is a lot of places, guys. Like, it's a lot of places. So I don't think it's ever going to replace it. But one thing that I did notice this weekend about that Twitch stream, or about having that Twitch stream live, is that the discourse on the fucking internet that comes from something that someone says on stage happens like that. It's not coming when, you know, the person that heard it in person decides to go on the internet and say something without context or quote it without context. It's not happening when Sonny, shout out Sonny, post that video publicly a couple weeks later. It's happening right away, that before the set's even over, you're like, there was one situation where someone said something on stage and the set ended, and half an hour later I had a text from someone going, yo, somebody on Twitter from out here is trying to cancel so and so for saying this on stage. And I'm just like, okay. Like, you hear it, and then you look, this is the most important part, that I don't want to say too much about this, because we could talk about online discourse forever and it's really truly not worth my energy. But you recognize how unimportant the internet is when you are standing in that room. You hear, oh, someone's trying to say so and so, or someone's mad about what somebody said on stage half an hour ago, and you go, oh, interesting. And you look around at what is happening around you. You look at the hundreds of people enjoying the band that's playing 30 feet away. You look at the people who are making a new friend at the merch table. You look at friends that are connecting for the first time since the pandemic ended. And like, none of that shit matters. Like, truly none of it matters. And if there's anything that I learned from the discourse that maybe came from that Twitch stream of things that are happening, being available on the internet right away. It's that it truly does not matter. And there were so many positives and so many like amazing and beautiful and like again, so corny, I'm sorry, but like really amazing things that happened this weekend at LDB for a ton of different people that like, dude, what happens on the internet doesn't fucking matter.
It like I was trying to allow you to set it up before I kind of like fully kind of responded to it, but I think that was like the last thing I had expected for people to be like, I don't like that, and then like literally like new tab, you know, stream is over here, Twitter is here, and then like typing it up.
Yeah.
And that is like, again, we don't have to go like so deep on this because like there's, you know, we need to be sensitive of Jordan's time, and I want to get to some of the other last things, but I think it's just it's shameful. I'll just say that. Like, I think it's like, I don't think not going to a fest is one thing. And, you know, because there's a multitude of reasons why, you know, certain people, there's a reason that there's not like 1,000 person or like multi-thousand person venue. It's like, there's a lot of people attending this thing, but, you know, there's a lot of people that wish they could or just couldn't get it off. So the access that this fest is making for you to still enjoy it in quote unquote real time, and you're being extra shitty, and like, let's say you are watching a band and first song the vocalist says something that you don't align with or you don't agree with, and that could be anything from like a personal thing to something political to whatever, and by the time that band has done their 20-minute set and the first thing that they're doing is stepping off stage and they check their phone and they've been blown up, that sucks. And like, that is like the furthest thing that I want to ever exist in hardcore. So I'm very curious on the other major festival promoters who maybe saw that and they're like, should we do this for a sound and or a this is or a FY?
Yeah.
But I think that's something to be said where it's like, are there going to be like shit faces? That's just my go-to word for this podcast. That's my go-to insult. Are there going to be people that will come into, you know, the C section and, you know, just say all this out of pocket stuff when Sonny or I or whoever are posting a set, or, you know, they were there and they're still taking it upon themselves? I feel like that will always exist, but my fear is the access and the instantaneousy of that is very volatile, I think.
I just am good. I know I should have more thoughts about it. I don't. I think I realized this weekend, Tyler, shout out to Tyler from Inclination Constraint, LDB.
Flip phone dude. User.
He made a comment. Flip phone Tyler.
Flip phone Tyler. Yeah, right.
He actually, that directly relates to what I'm about to say. During his set at the pre-show, he made a comment about like, get the fuck off your phone. Basically, like, take a look around you and enjoy this moment and be present in the moment. And he made a joke, but he was like, yo, if you need to store your phone somewhere, got the LDB table over there, plenty of space. Like, you can store your shit over there. It's fine. But
the LDB Records smartphone drop-off program.
Yeah, just a box of smartphone. Tyler, if you're listening to this, I expect that at the next festival that I see
Oh my God.
I really hope the LDB table adopts the idea of having a phone drop off. It's like a phone check.
I'll send this clip to him and be like, yo, I got a business proposition for you. Records?
No, but honestly, truly,
cell phone drop
took
off.
That. I noticed today when I went to go do, you know, fucking classic internet bullshit of doing my LDB, you know, Instagram post, and I realized I took no pictures over the weekend. I have maybe 3 from the whole weekend. I do have a film camera that I used quite a bit, so I do have memories with my friends that I will see eventually when I get home, but I must have really taken what he said to heart, because I was hardly on my phone this weekend, and people who know me like know I'm getting way better. The older I get, the better I get. I'm getting way better, but I am really bad for being on my phone and letting certain moments pass. And I'm actually really grateful for that small moment that Tyler took to kind of remind everybody to be present at the beginning of the fest, because it very clearly spoke to me subconsciously in some way.
Right.
So yeah, do you want to talk more bands? Do you have any more questions about LDB? I just like incredible weekend. Like I said, at the beginning, that crew that puts that on, Ryan and Alex for doing it from the start, just like, so I haven't been in attendance every year since the beginning. I have, of course, multiple friends out here in the Midwest who have, and I've only been able to be a part of it for the last few, but like, you should be very, very proud of yourselves. And I'm constantly inspired for every single thing that I do with damage control, and it this weekend more than any other fest. And I like, if you haven't picked up on this, like, it's kind of just my hobby is traveling for fest, but LDB in particular always renews my sense of why I'm in this shit and why I do it, and how important community is, because the community that has been built around LDB is something very, very spectacular. And just like, much love to the people who make it happen, because you're doing a very, very good thing, and you should be very, very proud of yourselves. And I'm looking very much forward to having you up in our territory at some point, hopefully in the near future.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, we love LDB. We love Ryan. We love the whole gang. And yeah, I can't imagine how crazy the year after is going to be compared to how fast things are exploding for them. Speaking of other sick shit, I want to make sure that we hit on this before we start to do new music and then wrap up. Limp Bizkit is going on tour with Scowl and Dying Wish. Let me say it for the kids in the back. Limp Bizkit is going on tour with Dying Wish and Scowl.
Congratulations to both
Congratulations.
Very, very deserving. And what the fuck? That's crazy. I'm sorry. I was just saying to Colin before we started recording this, because he brought it up too. He said, we were talking about how nuts that is and how awesome it is. And I was like, you know what? I don't know why I'm surprised. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but like, shout out to Limp Bizkit for being down for the fucking culture in 2022. That's
Absolutely
amazing. I don't know if those were bands that, as bigger tours do, the band particularly asked for Scowl and Dying Wish. If not, they obviously were stoked on it because they're taking them out. But
I think the lore behind
awesome.
Limp Bizkit commenting on a Scowl music video, I think that was first contact.
I didn't know that.
And people were just like, what? Like, whoa. What? Fred Durst, what? So I love to see that.
Very stoked for those guys.
And it seems that, like, so Limp Bizkit went on tour with Spirit Box, which is a Canadian, like, more on the metal kind of side of things. And that to me was still like fucking crazy. I think this just goes a level more of insanity, because it's like if you haven't, go and find Scowl's very first set on 197 Media. It's in the fucking backyard of someone's house in the California area. And then, like, remember that they're going on tour with fucking Limp Bizkit, not even like 2 or 3 years later. That
unbelievable
shit
truly
is bananas. BANANAS.
That's really cool. I can't imagine how that feels for them. And I said today, I was like, damn, I'm so happy for them. Like, what an incredible opportunity. And I'm really, really interested to see what comes of that. Like, what's going to be the domino effect? Like, both bands are out on really big tours to begin with this year. And so I'm excited to see what that kind of brings. But like, Touche Amore is very much within the hardcore sphere. That's not, yes, there are going to be some people who maybe aren't tuned in to new hardcore that are going to be mind blown by Scowl and start coming out to local shows again. But I think that playing in front of crowds that Limp Bizkit is going to be playing in front of, I'm very interested to see the kind of effect that has on hardcore. And I think it's going to be very positive and really, really exciting. And just as exciting for those bands as well, who are both getting incredible opportunities that are very well deserved.
Yeah, because like the break stuff boomers definitely exist, like,
and yeah.
and the fact that they could be like walking
is.
out with like a scowl and a dying wish shirt at a show, that's so cool.
So dope. I love it.
So yeah, we had to share that. I think everyone, because did that get announced today or yesterday?
Yeah, today as we're recording this.
Yeah, and I'm sure that the processing for everyone will just continue on by the time this episode is actually out. But yeah, it is super sick to see two hardworking bands just fucking get a rad opportunity like that. So there's an Ontario date, and I don't know what that means. Like, are they just playing all of Ontario on one of those days? Unfortunately, it's
who knows?
I was like, man, if it's Limp Bizkit, Dying Wish, and Scowl in Ontario, I'm there 100%. But I think it's Dying Wish and one of the other acts that's on it. So once they specify which Ontario city, then then we can make a judgment call from there.
This goes. Did we ever end up carrying the I'm not from Toronto or whatever segment over to the first episode, or was that a pilot thing that we?
I think that might have just been an episode 1 thing, but I guess that we're getting to that point.
Either way, my point is that there's surely there's a closer date than Ontario to where we're at in the US. Just saying. I don't know. I didn't look the routing, but I would really love to go and see that at some point. That would be a lot of fun. Before we move on from LDB too far, I do just want to take this opportunity, since we are asking people, what videos are you excited to see? There's a ton of videos. There's a number of sets that, with such a stacked lineup, I'm so happy for them. And I love this, but I'm not 21 anymore, and I cannot watch 11 hours worth of bands in a day. I'm just simply too tired. And there are a couple of sets that I am looking forward to watching on video when they are released. There's a couple sets that I'm looking forward to reliving on video. So I do just want to take this moment to thank Sonny. He came up to me and let me know that he listened to the first episode, and I am so incredibly grateful. I'm glad you liked it. Subscribe to his Patreon, because you can go and vote. There's a number of bands who are actually asking for votes so that their sets can be public. So if you have the extra dollars and you have the time, I definitely encourage all of you to go and subscribe to his Patreon and be able to vote on what sets are made public. Dude's a machine. He's already pumping out sets on there, and they're already available. There's I swear it feels like half the sets on there already. So just wanted to take a moment to say that, because I appreciate his coverage.
Yes. And we scoped exposure, love Sonny and what he does. And obviously Scope would not exist without that man's existence and passion and drive. You mentioned what were your top sets. What is the one set that you're most look forward to watching?
Volcano. I really, really wanted to stay in Louisville one more night to be able to go to that after show, to be able to see them live. But Volcano and Two Witnesses. Two Witnesses was pretty early on one of the days, and I just didn't make it to the venue in time. And I was really bummed about that. So those two are the two missed sets that I'm most looking forward to seeing. The one I'm really most looking forward to rewatching is the World I Hate video, because I'm only going to say this once, but for the first time, Nikki and I got to mosh together for the first time in a long time. Oh, poppers! That doesn't happen very often these days. So to be able to mosh alongside my good friend Nikki, and it happened to be to one of my favorite bands that played the entire weekend. Is that Minnow? I am looking forward to rewatching that, because they crushed it as always, and I'm excited to see the reach that video gets, because I think that was a really awesome opportunity for them, and they deserve it. So love you, World I Hate.
Yes, that I cannot wait until the follow-up from that EP that they put out. Speaking, you brought up Volcano. Let's use that as the segue for our new music section before
I'll
we
mention
have
that.
to
Unintentional segue, but good segue nonetheless. So a really important part to this show for me personally is being able to share the new music that's coming out, because I didn't even realize that I was maybe had, my lens, pun fully intended, on new music and new demos and new EPs more so than maybe the average person or a lot of people that I'm around, just for whatever reason. I work from home, I work on the computer, so I can listen to music all day, every day. So maybe that's why, but that's really important to me. So we're going to do that before we wrap up and just share some things that has come across mine and Spencer's, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever we are listening on. And my choice, well, one of my main choices this week is the Volcano demo that was released, I believe it was March 1st, called Fool to the Game. That's the number 2 THA if you're looking for it. But if you search Volcano, you should be able to find it. They put out a single a few weeks before that called Disciple, which I may or may not have mentioned on the podcast. But either way, that single was like so ass beating. I was really looking forward to this release because I knew it would be fucking sick. And again, very upset that I wasn't able to catch them in Louisville. And I'm looking forward to hopefully getting that opportunity again, because this demo is hard. It is like 6'3", 250-pound men mosh hardcore fucking real ass beating shit, and I love it. And it was released on Days, which is a record label from out east, I believe. Doing a lot of really cool shit lately. So
friend of the show, Lumpy, heard that he was headbutting people for some bands. Which
did you see the Nene?
I did not see the Nene.
We'll have to,
whoever's got a video of Lumpy doing the Nene, please DM that to me right now.
It's good. Really heavy, honestly. Shout out to Days, actually, while we're at it. Heavy Days presence at LDB this weekend. He had a table there, which was awesome. Those windbreakers went like crazy. You saw every second person wearing one, which was awesome. And like I said, Days putting out a lot of real good shit, especially if you like really heavy hardcore. That's a label for you.
Yes.
So pay attention.
We love Days, we love Lumpy, and we love
Shout
coffee.
Out.
Can I mention a new music pick that I wanted to highlight? Koyo signing to Pure Noise and putting out 10 Digits Away is that's a perfect single and a perfect we're on this badass label now. Really cool to see that. That song has just been a constant it's one of those songs where it's on shuffle, in my top best of March playlist that I'm curating, and then that comes in and I'll be like, oh, let's go back and listen to it again and again and again. So yeah, very, very cool to see that band getting some recognition and love. Duly noted for sure. I got one more, but I'll allow you to maybe plug one more before.
I just wanted to shout out friends of the podcast, Sealed Fate. They are playing a show coming up, which I'll just quickly before we end do a run of what shows are coming up in the area after. But they are releasing their EP, Crawling Back. It would have already come out by the time you're listening to this. It came out on Friday. Prior to this being released. So go and check that out now, I guess. I've heard a little bit of it and it sounds fucking rad. Today, that the day that we're recording, they just released a single on exclusively on noecho.net. So take a look at that. But you will be able to listen to the whole EP by the time you hear this episode. So just shout out to friends of the pod. I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, to connect the dots a little bit more, Dan plays bass in Endgame, and to see and hear all the stuff that he's doing with his other band is also really dope. So I want to give them some plug. I don't know if you know this, but Dan was trying to like make a joke that we could have fake band beef, like essentially like trying to like he was making memes of like Calvin and Hobbes like pissing on something, but it's like Sealed Fate pissing on Endgame. And it is so
It's
funny.
really good.
I was like, Dan, with peace and love, I don't want to like really have this fake band beef between these two bands that I don't think most people don't give a fuck about. Maybe the last new music thing that I can shout out for people to listen to. I'm gonna do two really quick. First is the new single that Terror put out that has Corpse Grinder, the dude from Cannibal Corpse, on it. People like
Sick.
out of all things for people to lose their shit on, and we're dealing with a month of fucking Limp Bizkit touring with Scowl and all these other things. That went the distance, and it seemed like a lot of people were stoked of like this blend of heavy metal music and hardcore working so well together. So I want to plug that. The Weapon X demo. It's very funny that like the day that my band drops something, I'm listening to someone else's music way more than my own.
Yeah.
To be fair, I listened to that single relentlessly leading up to it, but that demo is insanely like well done. It's exactly what I want a straight edge band to sound like musically and lyrically. Are you just playing it in the middle of our recording?
No. I have one more pick since you didn't mention it, and I need to. But yes, shout out Weapon X. Definitely listen to that demo. It's the split between Spy and Maniac. Came out today. Yeah, came out literally today. Yes.
I thought it was just Spy.
No.
It is.
Two tracks
it
by
is a
Spy.
split.
Yeah. It's put up on certain streaming services in a weird way, but 2 tracks from Spy and 2 tracks from Maniac. If you've never heard of one or the other bands, listen to the whole thing. It's great. I've only given it one really quick, like while I was distracted. Oh
my God.
Listen, but you should listen to it. That's it.
Okay.
I think we need to wrap up. I think I'm done. I think this has been chaotic enough. Trying to get this episode done in the circumstances that we're in. Anything else on new music from you before I rapid fire some shows that are happening?
A Morning Star, friends of the podcast, Vancouver.
Congratulations.
Metal music, metalcore.
Yes, released a single, and we're signed to a Coming Strife. Did I fuck that up? No, it's a Coming Strife label.
Okay.
Correct? From the UK.
Yes, from the UK.
Massive congratulations.
I just was just happy that Byron, good friend of mine, is playing drums in a band again since he's moved to Vancouver. So,
and it's going great. And Eli of Here and Now. Speaking of Here and Now, actually, that was a great segue because Here and Now is putting on the next Western Canada gig that's happening. I know that we're not all in the same place, but enough of us travel between, and I hope that we have enough, listeners in both spots. But Eli, who is in A Morning Star, also does Here and Now. They are putting on a show with a couple, just like Northwest hardcore legends in my eyes. I'm sure other people's, but Apex Predator, Witness Chamber. There's going to be Culminate is on that show. Incision's first show, I believe. Groza's playing that show. That's in Vancouver on March 25th. So the following Friday, you're listening to this if you're listening the day this came out, it's Tuesday. That's on Friday.
It might come out on Friday, but who's to say?
Either way. It's not going to be passed, hopefully, if all goes as planned between the two of us.
Yes.
It'll be out. It's either going to be out a couple days before or day of. So if you're in Vancouver, don't miss that. Saturday, March 25th, we have Endgame in Calgary playing with Ill Defined, Calling All Captains, who's the last band on that show. Remind me. That is at the Gateway in Calgary, Alberta. You can get tickets leading up to. The following weekend, unfortunately, we
What's
have
happening?
There's a lot of people outside. Before that, we have after that, we have a Denial of Life had their van stolen. There's a GoFundMe you'll find it through the damage control page. Please donate money to them. They are still trying to make their Canadian tour work, and it's like the tenacity of that band is insane. So please go ahead and listen to that or donate to that. If they
I'll
manage to
put
make
their GoFundMe at the top of this whole podcast. So
thank you. If you manage to make it to that, if they manage to make it up, there's two shows happening: Calgary, Edmonton, and then Vancouver as well. You can find all of those on the damage control page, so I won't go through all the details. You can find them if you want to see them. But please show up, please donate. They went through the band's worst nightmare. Their van was stolen in LA, and they stayed a couple extra days to try to find it. Nothing came of it, so they ended up flying home. And it's also a work vehicle for somebody in the band, so they're all working class people and would appreciate your help. So please donate there. That's all from me.
Yeah. Lots of good stuff covered on this podcast. Again, thank you everyone for listening. This is something that I look forward to in the weeks leading up, and it's nice to go through and digest some of the things that we see in the hardcore world, and I hope people listening also get a little bit of that too. Are you okay? Now there's people outside.
Now I really look like I'm getting kidnapped. The way I'm like, who's out there? What's going on? But yeah, I gotta go. We all gotta go.
We all gotta go.
This is it.
Jordan's gotta go. We gotta go.
Yeah, we all gotta get the fuck out of here. Thank you for tuning in, everybody, though. I appreciate it.
Subscribe, share, tell a friend.
All that good stuff.
And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.